what I normally do. Today, I wanted to do a campaign diary for the D&D game that we're running. So I'm the DM of, and I just wanted to kind of go over some of the things that I thought were really fun, some of the things that I wasn't expecting that I had to kind of adapt to on the fly, and then what my characters, what my players did with the situation that they found themselves in. So, I want to preface this with, I'm, not a super advanced DM or anything like that, but I've been running for the game for a little over a year now. Actually, yeah, getting close to it. Would be a year and a half if I hadn't taken a small break to be a player in my friend's campaign, uh, which you saw here, the Redeeming Faith. But the the thing I wanted to go into this one, the reason I wanted to go into this one is because I thought it might be a fun habit to get into to kind of do the campaign diary where you guys kind of get an idea of kind of what I thought was going to happen, what actually happened, and also kind of for those who can't catch the stream, kind of catch you up on the story. So we'll just dive right in. Last time, our we'd left our heroes. They had found. Let's see. I don't know how far to go back. I guess with this being the first one, we're gonna go with just the last big things that happened. So they are on their way to finding three gems that go into the Morpheus Edge. This is a dagger that, when powered correctly, can cut through dimensions and allow them to transport themselves from place to place. And they can use this dagger once it's powered up to go face their opponent, who apparently killed their master. Their master was an elven woman named Eris Dawnforge. Now she she was killed in her sleep, and then they had a dream, kind of guiding them on this mission where they woke up with the Morpheus blade. So they'd found one of those stones in the city of Menestros with one of her old students. And she found out all of she left the gems with three of her previous students. They found a fire ganassi, who was a fire ganassi bard who was a previous student of hers, who who had banished his into a pocket dimension that he could summon through music. And so they managed to help the situation that was going on there, and they made their way across the desert to the city of Vernder. They had an orc vision quest on the way there, and each of them was blessed slightly by an orc god or two, leading to some interesting things considering their alignments. But in the city of Vernder, Vernder was supposed to be just like a pit stop between um, between Menestros and Kern. Kern being a dwarvish city where they hope to find a goblin rogue under the name of Shildalin. Um, but in Vernder, they got involved in the local scene a little bit when they found that the underground there was Slod trying to overtake the city, and had found that Slod had infested the council, and then once they kind of rooted out some of the corruption under the ground, the cult of Phobitor, Phobitor being the god of nightmares, made a full-out assault onto the citadel and the city itself, and so they helped defeat that, and I guess one good plot point is, while everybody else was being blessed by orc gods, the dragonborn barbarian, he when he so each of them was piloting an avatar of one of the separate gods in this little one-off adventure where they played a champion of each of the gods. But the uh, um, the barbarian, his character that he was piloting was a warlock, and he was actually knocked out in the final battle with a shadow dragon, um, which detonated into whiteness, and they found out is what caused the desert in the middle of what used to be forest. But in the final battle during this orc vision quest, his character, the warlock, was knocked unconscious, and he found himself there rather than piloting an avatar, his physical form being in this sort of what should have been a flashback. And so then the next few days, he every time he slept, he would see this shadow dragon in his mind. And so, upon seeing this shadow dragon, eventually he contacted the group's warlock, an awakened rat who was a demon who was fused to a rat. In a long story we won't get into, but this being the first diary, we can go into these more details a little later. But made what he thought was a solid contract, and presented it to become, basically has his new demi patron in this shadow dragon. So he grants him powers, so he can use things like Eldritch Blast and all that stuff. And he will help him find his grandchildren and save the grandchildren. So they on the attack on the city, there was a young shadow dragon that was part of the attack, which they managed to calm down with some insanely high charisma checks and really good usage of what they were doing. But not before he killed a ton of guards and knocked and nearly killed the elf ranger. But they managed to get their stuff together and kind of head on afterwards, getting the dragon to transform back into its human form and sending it on its way to go um, stay at the master's house, since Alcaeus, the new master, they were the person they convinced and left in charge of the master school, the adventuring school that they all went to. Um, Convinced him to take the kid on until they could find or get in contact with the mother. Then they moved on, which they headed straight to Kern, but got involved once more into the dealings with um, the city of Arborivan. He said, making the name up and then forgetting how to pronounce it. But they on their way they met some hill giants on the road, and they heard them bickering about becoming more than just a mayor and a king, and then they made quick work of these three giants. But farther down the road there was a camp where they found a bunch of people who were hunting these giants after expelling them from their city, and were convinced that they needed to get to them before they caused any more damage anywhere else. But upon talking to them, they found out that their city was also under attack by Ents. Now, Ents being known for not being chaotic douchebags like giants are and everything, they decided to investigate and found that the Ents were attacking because there was a source of major corruption infecting the city. Now, the Ents, they gave them 3 days to re- to find this corruption and take care of it. After 3 days, the Ents would attack again. So in those 3 days, they managed to go through the entire city. Kind of, it's not a very big city. It's a kind of more of like a little logging town. They went through it and inspected a bunch of things. They managed to find. Then they found out that there were also shapeshifters attacking the city who could also feel that same disturbance. So they managed to find these shapeshifters by making some deals and bartering with local wildlife through the druid who made some plant growth happen to trade mushrooms with giant hogs, giant wild boar, to so that the boar could help them sniff them out and kind of knew who they were. So they find that the corruption is at what's called the forward camp, where most of the city's guard and the hired band of mercenaries, the Gilded Cleaver, were staying and getting ready to. Which they had planned to either lure the hill giants back from or make a forward post in the war against what they thought would be an ongoing conflict with these giants. Now, um, when they go to the forward camp, they step into the tent of the leader, and Bloodscale, the dragonborn barbarian, sees somebody from his past. Now, Bloodscale doesn't have much of a memory at all because at one point he was sold off as an arena slave and has just been taken one too many blows to the head, if you know what I mean. And so he has a spotty memory, if he can remember anything at all. So most everybody in the party to him, he knows by their nicknames that he gives them. The sorcerer is known as Magic Hands. The druid is Druid Lady, I think he says. And then the Warlock Mesnos is just known as Ratman. And then the new Aarakocra Rogue is known as Bird Bro. But after seeing upon this, he and the his rage combines with the rage of the shadow dragon inside him, and he grows in size and just starts going to town on this Davzarin, this elf, which which his memory showed stabbing and killing the previous leader of his the group he was part of before his life fell into slavery and craziness. Um, Everybody else was helped fight and was engaged in with the demons that he summoned and with the assassins that were positioned by the door as guards. Now, him summoning demons was a sign that maybe Davzarin wasn't the same as he always had been. But through much of attacking, Davzarin eventually tries to use Dimension Board to get out. But with a natural 20 on Perception and with a shadow dragon fueling his rage and perceptions, he manages to pinpoint where he had fled and instantly just starts barreling out the door. And his great size, before Davzarin can recover from his spell and start running again, turn order, um, he makes it to him and starts wailing into him while everybody else goes and they try to put up defensive. They try to keep him there by using hold person by trying to throw up a flame wall. And then so eventually. Like Davzarin is getting really low and is prone in front of him, and Zephyr, our tiefling druid, runs up and throws her body over him, trying to stop Bloodscale from destroying more hints and clues of what his past might be. But something snaps inside of Bloodscale's head, and he attacks through her with him and his giant axe, which has grown teeth at this point and chomps onto and absorbs the blood of his enemies. Upon deeply wounding the druid, and he pulls back one more time and he manages to claw his giant hand into the ground and pull Davzarin out from under Zephyr and crush him within his grip. Davzarin then melts away into like an oily substance before disappearing into smoke as the oil evaporates. And then Bloodscale falls unconscious and shrinks back to his normal size. They spend the next day trying to get him back into, some sort of working order, and then eventually they do and head back to the tent. And in this tent, they're looking for this source of corruption. Now they were hoping it was Davzarin, but they find a bag that is covered in runes. And they're not sure exactly what it does, but carefully, oh so carefully, and they were very careful not to touch it, so that was good on them. They release the tie straps at the top and have the bag fall down. Inside, there's what I called a death's seedling. Now, this is a tree made of fingers and bones and chitinous tongues coming out of the top of it and growing out of a child with their head upward, their mouth open. They That's where we ended the previous session. So this session, which I'm doing the diary for, they all start trying to figure out what they can do to help this. First thing Bloodscale does is he steps forward with his axe and he reels back and just takes one giant swing at it, knowing that it. After watching them, sorry, before we ended the previous session, they tried some magic and everything, but everything they threw at it, it absorbed into itself. Bloodscale tried his axe, and the axe got through, and he cut off the arm of the child, and black ichor started pouring from its wounds. Everybody who looked at this thing had to make a wisdom saving throw, and if they failed, they relived one of the most horrible moments of their life and cried black tears. And which our sorcerer was paranoid about, so he prestidigitation them all away, so that way they wouldn't be staining or have any lingering consequences. Um, Upon going for the second attack, I was having everybody do wisdom saving throws. Now, Bloodscale got a natural 20 on his saving throw, which he doesn't know was how much the thing was being aware of him, and basically it was making saving throws against his axe and the shadowy thing combined with it. So, with that, the eye opens and he sees a completely black eye. An eye that has been completely blacked over. And so he decides not to attack again, being convinced by the sorcerer, as our druid runs out to go grab the help of the Ents, the Aarakocra flew up and spotted. The Tiefling is part of the winged variety, so both of them fly over and they tell the Ents, come quickly, we found it, we need your help. And so the Ents get there while they try a few different things, and then the Ent reaches out and uses some sort of magic that they're not familiar with, and the eyes clear, and they for the first time see a white eye, an eye with a white iris, I should say, and then black tears, and so the eye then quickly blackens out again. And so now they seeing this little bit of hope, they start going on a mass call for all healers, all clerics, and the Triton cleric also comes up and starts pouring some of her magic into there. The Tieflings use all of her spell slots, and eventually they figure out that and as they're trying to do this, the Bloodscale figures out that as he gets his axe close to the tree, it absorbs some of the magic coming off of it, and so it keeps the eyes clear longer. It's able to eat some of that energy, and then so Bloodscale, he sees the eye on his axe open, and it's the iris is pale, and it starts to fill up with energy, getting stronger and stronger, and then eventually I have him make a Constitution saving throw. The energy is starting to go up the weapon into him. So instead of dropping it or trying anything else, he uses his frost breath to freeze his hands to his axe. And then he keeps holding on as the power builds higher and higher. They're using all the restoration magic they have. The Aarakocra is flying everywhere, trying to find even more and more clerics. And eventually, they get to a point where they see the legs on the child start to form into a more natural color, and the color is restored upper and higher and higher and higher, until we get to a point where the tiefling reaches out, grabs the tries to make a strength saving throw or a strength check to pull it up. Does really well. Gets a few feet up, and then they do some more and more healing. There's a mass amount of healing going into this, and then with a final pull, a natural 20, she pulls the tree free from the kid, and then tosses it, and instantly the sorcerer banishes it into the next round. Then they went to sleep for the night, and each had different dreams. I should get up my notes for this. So each of them having these different dreams. The Dragonborn, Bloodscale, his dream was of two dragons fighting in the sky over him, and one silver, one dark and corrupted. Now the sorcerer, him having the heart of a of a saved mummy lord, a rose knight that they saved, and had gained a little bit of favor with the goddess Suni. He woke in a chamber of roses. The bottom, he just basically was standing on this plane where there's a plate glass stained glass floor that was made of a that was in the shape of a rose with petals that constantly changed color, and he saw two forms, one of the corrupted knight on one side and the rose knight on the other, each of them arguing for why they weren't the other one, and each espousing the virtues of their side while denying the other. He managed to get them to agree and become one again, um, because Suni had told him that she could only hold him there so long before he was lost forever. Upon doing so, he was awoke with the words, "Take my sword." And so he went and found that the sunblade that they had had with them since the pyramid where they fought the Rose Knight was a sunblade, and it was blessed by Suni, and was for made specifically for the champion of Suni. And so upon attuning that, he felt better about everything. So as far as the other dreams go, Zephyr had a dream where once again she saw Vola, the champion of Bagtru, the orc god, and the orc champion that she had played during their um, side quest. And uh, their blessing from Bagtru has also let our druid have an orc shape, where she transforms into an orc fighter of half her level. At this point, Vola says, "Let me see your weapons." And Zephyr looks down, and she's in her green-skinned orc form, holding a set of hand axes and a great sword. So she hands those over, and then Bag Vola blesses them, but you hear the sound of breaking bones as it's Bag through the leg breaker, as this whitish energy flows from her eyes glow, and then this energy starts to glow into the weapons as they reshape, growing like kind of jagged edges and more teeth and bone and parts of it. So her orc form now has magical weapons that do. That are vicious, two vicious hand axes and a vicious greatsword. So oh yeah, and Visera, I forgot to mention, he gained enthrall. The sorcerer, he gained enthrall from his dream. Um, Uza didn't have such a good dream. He was, upon sleeping, he felt himself pulled into the air, and winds pulling him towards his destiny. And once again, he looked down as thunder, 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 lightning everywhere. And then he found out that he was recognized the place, and he looks down. He's seeing exactly what he expected to see: his brother, mid-flight, reaching out to them, yelling something. As the lightning strikes towards him, it all freezes. All of a sudden, his brother starts to vibrate and tries to. And all of a sudden, it's like he's breaking through. And then when he gets through, he just yells, "Brother, be wary. You must guard your mind. There is a price for our freedom." And then he wakes up. And I think that's everybody's dreams. And so part of the this campaign is a lot of dreams and stuff with Nightmare and the theme of dreaming and everything like that. So as far as the DM side of things, I honestly thought that they were going to have to cut down the tree, knowing and kind of make them um, hate the bad guys more, and it was going to be one of those like a really solid hook to really um, kind of make them really really resentful of it. But they found a way through it, and I really wanted to reward how intelligent they were being about it, and really reward how much thought they put into it. So they, throughout all the magic and then the axe and everything, the axe, the reason it was taking some of the shadow magic off of the child is because both of them were both made and seeped in the magic of the Shadowfell, and with the axe, it eats magic and it eats blood. And fuels itself because it can cast magic, specifically smite magic, when it attacks, um, and so it's fuel that magic is fueled off of absorbing other magic and absorbing blood. Um, so it was really interesting. I had a bunch more actually planned for them to do, but they spent their time and were really careful about getting the tree back to life. They also did some cool things like you know uh, they put up they have a magical tent that has like a kind of like a it's basically their version of a magical mansion, and they made sure to put the kid up and put him in a room, and uh, a lot of their characters had really nice defining moments in this game. Like I know it was our first game back from being in that other campaign for a little while, but our druid Zephyr actually showed physical affection to other people, which since her time in hell has not made her too prone to do. But she actually hugged and was holding the child after they brought him back from his horrible fate of almost becoming a just a fuel for death, as the death seedling is what you do to corrupt things. Our elf ranger actually, since the player hasn't been able to show up for quite a while and he might have to be taking a break, he recognized the death seedling as something from his backstory. What he was in his backstory, he had to like run some packages as a kind of not an errand boy, but kind of an errand boy, uh, where he was doing it for money because he didn't fit in with his own society very well, and he so decided to embrace the next best society that accepted him. So it was the underground, and he was kind of just doing these things, and he was really good at it. Except for one package he delivered turned out to be this corrupting force near the his home city that was this giant. You know, uh, Kind of classic elf architecture into a tree, but with waterfalls coming off the tree, and it was a very beautiful place. Um, and he knew it was a corrupting force. He didn't know exactly what it was, but he knew the bag had the same kind of runes and markings and was generally the same size. So now he's headed back to his home to find out what's going on. His home of Templewood, and so which actually the player homebrewed himself, and he wrote all of the rules and stuff for. Which is funny. His character doesn't fit into a society that he wrote. But Viser, he actually has been wearing kind of illusions to make himself look clean and dressed all the time, and his his appearance he altered slightly to be more attractive and had his hair done a certain way. But when he woke up, all of his illusions became reality because he was blessed with by Suni, who wants him just to spread the ideas of beauty and virtue. And so he kind of had a moment where he was like, "They're real, holy shit, okay." And then let's see. Oh yeah, our Aarakocra had, of course, a crisis of. Is my brother alive? What's going on? Holy crap! Was there a price for my wings? Because as far to this point, he plays a younger character, so he's kind of naive. And to this point, he would just, there was the thought of it was a broken curse. There couldn't be any consequences for it, and so he'll find out what those are later. But overall, I was really proud of my players. I was really happy with the way things felt and on the way it's going. And if you guys want to catch up with us every Tuesday, we're going to be running this campaign more. It's playfully called the Morpheus Edge right now, but also the Dawnforge Company is what they call their adventuring group, and you can find out even more about them next time. And I hope you tune in. I hope you guys like this sort of campaign diary-ish thing. Hopefully we can do it again soon. Thank you guys for watching, and any questions, hit me up on the Twitter or any of the stuff up there. You see it. All right. So thank you for watching, and yeah, see you soon.